Welcome Year 7s to your first YouTube video on the Chatfont History YouTube channel. You are my second group that I have chosen to benefit from this new and exciting way of learning during our lockdown times. My Year 11s were the first group, my GCSE group. I wanted them to have the first opportunity to have their own YouTube video. This is yours. So this is our next topic. We're going to be looking at the Anglo-Saxons and Normans unit, particularly the Normans unit. You're looking at essentially how, over the next couple of lessons, we're looking at how William consolidated his power in England. So this is what today's lesson is all about, looking at what we've got up here. Look at this beautiful text, okay? Look at how beautifully it's written, look how straight the lines are. I know that they seem to be sloping off, but don't forget this is something that is open, is open at a page. What do you think this could be? Having a look at this image. So your starter task today, looking at this image, take a couple of minutes just to think, what do you think this image is? Okay, all right. Pause the video if you need to. So these are pages from the Little Doomsday Book for Essex, showing the lands of Odo, Bishop of Bio. Okay, so he is the half-brother of William. He fought at Hastings. He is depicted on the Bio tapestry. Hence the name, Bishop of Bio, and is widely believed that he commissioned it. So, today's lesson is the Doomsday Book. You might have noticed two different spellings here, okay, double O and O-M-E. So, O-M-E, this is the traditional, the old English way of spelling it. This is obviously how we would spell it today with two O's and an M. So these terms are largely interchangeable. So don't panic. This isn't me getting it wrong, although often I do, make little errors in my things. This today is essentially, that's the medieval way of saying it. That's the modern way of doing it. So we've got some key words here, some of which will be appearing in your presentation, in your lesson today. If you missed them, if you don't see them, if you don't find them, then I'd like you to spend some time finding out what they are, researching them in Google or what have you. But it's important that you get these words down, written down, and their meanings by the end of this session. Okay, so by all means, if you want to pause the video here and then go away and look them up, you can do so. Otherwise, okay, get them written down and watch out for the meanings as we go. So what is the Doomsday Book? Okay, so the Doomsday Book is a great land survey from 1086, commissioned by William the Conqueror to assess the extent of land and resources being owned in England at the time, okay? And more importantly, to find out how much money he could get out of England, okay? Yeah, so remember at that time, if you think back to some of the lessons that we looked at, why people invaded England, what was so good about us. People didn't just come for the gorgeous weather, okay, they did come for other reasons. Think about, what was so important of England, why people invaded it. For William, it was about taxes and raising taxes. We've got a nice little line drawing here of the Doomsday Book. Notice there are two books here, not one. Okay, we're going to be talking about that today and why that is. So, this is a brief opportunity. Pause the video here, okay, or when I finish speaking, that is. What is the Doomsday Book? So reflect, why do you think William might need to know how much tax he could raise for England? Yeah, what are those taxes for? Yeah, what does he need all this money with? Surely, being, the Duke of Normandy, he's got loads of money. So what does he need that money for? Okay. More importantly, why does he bother commissioning this Doomsday Book? Right? Why doesn't he just raise as much tax out of England as he wants and he needs? Yeah. Okay. this is very much a challenge task. That is this if you want to push yourself a little bit further in your learning. So in 1066, William the Duke of Normandy defeated the Anglo-Saxon king Harold II at Hastings and became King of England. A little bit of a revision for us there here. This is something we should be familiar with. So the social life of England at that time very much revolved around the manor. Okay, so this was exactly as you think it might be. It was a farmhouse, a house, and there was a farmable amount of land attached to the house. Okay, the lord very much owned the land. Okay, or actually ideally was given it to him by his baron, all right, to look after and to farm. And he may or may not live in the house, okay, but largely, you know, being as a lord is, as you can see here, a man that rides around on a horse with sharp pointy things and shields, wearing armor, probably hasn't got an awful lot of time for farming, would often be called away by his baron to serve in William's armies, in William's wars and fights on the continent. So more than likely, he wouldn't be doing much of the farming himself. He would be letting it to tenants. Yeah, he would be giving the land to tenants to actually farm themselves, and they would, yeah, farm it. Thinking back to what we looked at when we did the feudal system, they would largely give most of the crops to him, keep some of it for themselves. Okay, for as essentially for being allowed to, you know, to survive on the land. Okay, so in 1085, England was again threatened with invasion. This time it was the Vikings deciding to come back, okay, and take some of England back. Large chunks of northeast England had always traditionally been a part of Denmark. Okay, the Danemark or the Daneland. Okay, so there was large chunks of northeast England had almost been part of the Danish kind of empire. Okay, and they decided they wanted it back. So William knew that there was threats coming from the northeast and thought it's time he needed money to pay for armies, to pay for his, to raise mercenaries, but also to pay his knights as well, okay, and to recruit additional knights from the continent. So in order to pay for this, he commissioned a survey to discover the resources and tactical values of all the boroughs and manors in England. Oh, bit of a spelling error there, apologies. He wanted to discover who owned what, how much it was worth, and how much was owed to him as king in tax and rents and military service. The Domesday Book also records which manors belonged to which estates, who essentially the tenants in chief were, okay, and people who owed him military service in the form of knights to fight in his army. Okay, so quick knowledge check for you here. All right, oh, let's go back. So we've got a nice little picture of a seal here. That's not one that makes a noise, not an animal, but something a king would use to seal a letter. Please, there are regular knowledge checks throughout this entire lesson. Please make sure you answer those in full sentences. So first of all, when did William become king? Should be nice and easy one, that. What was a manor? Who or what was a tenant? Why did William need the taxes? What were they for? And when did he commission the survey? Okay. Oh, quick one, by all means, pause the video whenever the knowledge checks come up. So we've got the Great and the Little Domesday Book. Okay, invariably, Domesday Book is quite often referred to as one item. It is in fact actually 2 volumes. Okay, a volume is essentially a book in a series of books. Yeah. So often a book might be a collection of volumes. And so the Domesday Book actually has got the Great Doomsday and the Little Doomsday. It consists in 2 volumes that are actually quite different from each other. Why was it called the Doomsday? So today, we often refer to, or we consider Doomsday to be the end of the world, the apocalypse, okay? But in medieval times, Doomsday actually meant the day of judgment, okay? It was the day in which everybody was judged. So Christ would come back and he would judge all those living and all those dead, okay? And essentially judge whether they've been good or bad, okay? So it might be, maybe it was called the Doomsday Book because people felt like they were being judged like it was the end of the world, okay? They felt that they were being judged. Before, it wasn't until called Doomsday Book until the 1180. Before that, it was known as the Winchester Roll, the King's Roll, or the Book of the Treasury. What is in it? Well, it's got extensive records of who owned what, or who owns what, and who owned it before the Norman conquest and after the Norman conquest, even down to how many fish, okay, how many plows were on a land, okay. I don't know how maybe they counted the fish. I don't know how they figured that out. I should imagine that was kind of an approximation, or how many fish you could get out of an area. But they could certainly count the plows. They could count the cows pulling the plows, how big the land was, okay, and how many buildings they were and everything. So it's very, very detailed information of what's in the book. Right, another knowledge check. Again, please, ladies and gents, all knowledge checks, make sure you are answering full sentences. So we've got 4 questions here and a challenge task. Again, if you want to push your learning further, okay. How many volumes were there? What were each of the volumes called? What was the original name of the book? What does Doomsday mean? What kind of information was found in the book? Challenge task is, why do you think it might have been called the Doomsday Book? So how did they go about getting the information? Okay, so first and foremostly, commissioners, inspectors, yeah, they were bishops and knights. They were kind of local important people, sheriffs, okay. You all know the Sheriff of Nottingham from the Robin Hood's tale. So they, the tax collector. So these were important people who were sent far and wide to all parts of the land, yeah. They would have been quite important and respected people that were already very trustworthy to William. Probably his best friends, his family, his cousins, people like that. People who fought at Hastings with him that he could trust. And they would go out to every town and village and everywhere in the Shire. So first of all, it's important to understand that a hide was an area considered large enough to support a family, between 60 to 120 acres, yeah? So it wasn't an exact area, but what is important to understand is that, okay, all towns and villages were made up of hides, okay? So for instance, if you had 10 little houses with enough land to feed 10 families, then that area was 10 hides in size. In each shire, they try and figure out how many villages there were, the cottagers, the slaves, freemen, the size of the woodlands, the meadow, the pasture, the number of mills, the fish ponds, and on and on and on and on and on. And it was incredibly, incredibly detailed. You can well imagine how people felt being asked all these questions. When was it written? Well, the commissioners went out in the first few months of 1086. The first few drafts were finished by the end of the summer of 1086, okay, and by the death of William, okay, in 1087, work had stopped. It was handwritten, by an unnamed official scribe and then checked with another person. Okay, it was written in Latin, in short form of Latin. There is still some academic debate about the exact purpose of the Domesday Book, although most people consider it to be essentially an important part of the tax gathering. Some people would say that it was just a commissioned survey, a curiosity. So knowledge check, again, ladies, gents, please, full sentences. So we've got two kind of chart tasks here, okay? An opportunity just to strengthen and reflect on your learning, and a challenge task to push your learning further. So first of all, who collected the information? When was it written? When did William die? And who wrote the book? Challenge yourself by answering these questions. Why do you think that the book wasn't written by the people who collected the information? Yeah, why is there two different people here? Surely it would make sense to the people who are collecting information to have written the book. Why do you think that might not have been the case? Okay. When William died, what effect would this have had on the book? Okay. And why do you think the book was actually created? Yeah, your opportunity to provide your opinion here. Don't forget, you need to use evidence. So, some factual information now, okay, some factual questions over the next few slides, okay. What materials were used? It was mostly made out of sheepskin using black and red ink. There are 13,418 places listed in the Domesday Book. There are 413 pages in the Great Doomsday and 475 of the Little Doomsday. Where is it now? It's kept at the Public Records Office in Chancery Lane, London, where it is on view to the public. A copy has been made and it can be seen in the special exhibition at the National Archives. Right, knowledge check. Again, strengthen and challenge, yeah? Everyone needs to have a go at the strengthen. If you want to challenge yourself further, there are some additional questions here for you to push your learning on a little bit. What's it made out of? How many places are listed? How many pages are there? Where is it now? Now, this is a bit of a research task. Don't kill yourself over this one. You could quite literally spend years of your life researching the Domesday Book. So get yourself online, spend a short period of time finding out a little bit about your area where you live, okay? Is it listed in the Domesday Book? And what does your Domesday Book say about where you live if it is listed? So, why do we need to know all about this? Why is it important? Okay, remember, history is all about learning in things that matter to us today, that have long-term consequence. Well, for historians, it can be used to discover how rich we were at this country at the time. It can tell us about the feudal system, who was in charge, a little bit about geography and the demographics. Local historians, it could be tell them a little about their area. And for that matter, if you are one of the kind of people that likes tracing your family tree, it can also be used for that. I happen to know that one of my year 11 students in my year 11 class, okay, his family is actually listed in the Domesday Book, and they were one of the families that invaded with England. So, just to finish off and round this session off then, ladies and gents. Oh, what was the Domesday Book? Okay. Why was it made? What was the point of it? And how useful is it today? Right, okay. Now this, have a go at attempting all of the activities on the slides, and there is a consolidation exercise as well, which is a worksheet attached to your show my homework task here as well, and submit the work to me as and when it's completed. Shouldn't take more than a week to do. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.